Blessings Bakhanyiselwa. Welcome back to our video lessons on the ancestral cloths. Today, Bakhanyiselwa, we are talking about this cloth right here, the shield cloth. The shield cloth is one of the most important cloths. This cloth is very special. It is very sacred because it holds one of the deepest mysteries of the spirit. The shield cloth is for those initiates who we may call ibutho or amalungisa. Ancestrally, this cloth is for the ancestral spirits that are called amabutho and even indiki. These are the warrior type of ancestral spirits, those who were the defenders and the avengers of the tribe. Basically, this cloth is for the initiates who have a warrior spirit. And these people are also the amalungisa, the righteous ones. The path of righteousness is an initiation on its own. And it is also connected to the path of the warriors. In the not so olden times of the world, people were initiated into the mysteries of the warriors, just like the tribal police or the tribal avengers, as Credo Mutwa calls them. Amabutho, the warriors, were not just warriors, but they were a lineage of initiates who used to strictly travel the spiritual path of the warriors. This is also true with the tribal avengers. They were initiated into the path of righteousness and the mysteries of the law. As a result, they were strict upholders of Ubuntu and the laws of the tribes. They were very righteous and upright men. The tribal avengers were given the responsibility and the permission to punish anyone who breaks the law. And it made sense to say that a lawbreaker cannot be punished by other lawbreakers. The only person who is allowed to punish a lawbreaker is a righteous person, right? Amalungisa, one who never breaks the law. So the initiates of this cloth are the descendants of these tribal avengers. Others are descendants of tribal warriors. They embody the warrior spirit. The tribal avengers were very, very strict when it comes to the law, as they were the law keepers of the tribe, the abaphathi bomthetho. Right? The path of righteousness is the path of Ma'at and Ubuntu. It is a path of wisdom, balance, and justice. In terms of Kemet, this cloth is connected to the mysteries of Ma'at, and yet at the same time, it is connected with the mysteries of Sekhmet, the warrior priestess, and the avenger of Ra. Righteousness and war actually go together. Righteousness is connected to justice and war. When you do something wrong to the people, they will seek justice. And when justice is not served, people are willing to revolt and even fight. This has happened again and again throughout history. So the initiates of this cloth are the warrior initiates. And in the old times, they would be involved with the army or policing the tribes, making sure that the laws of the tribes are never broken. Looking at the symbols on the cloth, we see a shield, a spear, and an axe, a battle axe, all of which are the tribal warriors' weapons. These weapons symbolize the fact that the initiates of this cloth are the defenders and the protectors of the tribes. They protect the tribes by punishing lawbreakers, and others defend the tribes during times of war. This warrior's cloth is connected to two other cloths, and that is Injeti and the King Mswati cloth. All these three cloths are actually connected and they represent the same energy, which is the warrior energy, the warrior spirit. This is why we also see the shield printed on these other cloths. We have different versions of injeti, like this one right here, right? And we also have this one, right? The reason why we have these versions of injeti is because injeti is essentially a warrior's cloth. Hence, sometimes it has a shield. The one with the shield it just makes everything obvious, really. The shields that are printed around these various cloths are actually telling us that these cloths are connected, right? As long as a cloth has a shield, it means that it is for the warriors, right? Because the shield symbolizes Abavikeli, the defenders of the tribe. The difference between these three cloths, the injeti, the shield, and the Swati cloth, is really a matter of tribe. This one right here is the shield cloth. It's for the Zulu warriors or Amanguni warriors, and it is also connected to Isinguni initiation. This one, Hinjeti, is for the Amandawe warriors, and it is connected to Isindawe initiation. And then this one is for the Amaswati warriors, and it is connected to Swati initiation, Isiswati. Remember, each and every tribe had its own particular group of warriors who had their own initiation. The Injeti is for Amandawe as a tribe, specifically the warriors of that tribe. This cloth was once worn specifically by the Amandawe warriors. These Amandawe warriors died in battle when they were fighting for their cattle, and their bodies were thrown into the river. This is how they now became water spirits. Hence, they are now known as water-based warrior ancestral spirits. These cloths are basically the same. They carry the same warrior energy, and this is why they are sometimes combined into one cloth, right? Which is this cloth right here. This cloth right here directly tells us that Isindawe is actually connected to the warrior spirit in terms of symbols. That's what it's saying. These are not just designs, they are a language, and they speak if one is willing to listen. Ancestrally, this cloth can also be used by those who are said to have indiki, because indiki can also protect and bring luck. I mentioned indiki on the rooster cloth, but it also applies here because indiki differs. Sometimes it sees and sometimes it fights and protects. When this ancestral spirit manifests in females, it makes them very masculine and short-tempered, such that they may always be involved in fights. And when these females fight, they have the strength of 1,000 warriors. Such women are possessed by Indiki, and when aligning with the spirit, this is the cloth that they are most likely to be shown. Some people even use a red cloth, a plain red cloth, which is for in Amandiki and Amabuto, Umguni, and even Umdao. Amandawi initiates smear themselves in a red ochre, ubomvu. They also smear their hair or they wear a red wig. They do all of this to represent the long gone red-haired Maiti warriors. Even the tribal avengers used to wear red headbands, and their sacred informers wore red feathers, just like Ma'at. All these things are connected under the mysteries of this cloth. And like I said, the symptoms of this gift manifests as those types of females that are a bit rough and masculine. They grow up fighting, they grow up fighting bullies, and some may even grow up to become the bullies. They always fight their way through life because theirs is a warrior spirit. For a woman, this warrior spirit is connected to her wind and how her energy is made up. In males, the warrior spirit is simply connected to how their energy is made up, right? I mean, in a male, the warrior spirit is very obvious because it dominates. Though sometimes it is not manifested, but it is there. It is always there within males. And the symptoms are also the same within males, right? Every male has a warrior spirit, but there are those males that really manifest the warrior spirit more than others. They are always drawn towards fighting and war. We call them abompiake. And this very same title can apply to a female, yes, but mostly in most cases it applies to men. Men are naturally creatures of war, strength, and force. When a man is affected by the energy of this cloth, the warrior spirit, he becomes warlike. And if you were to teach such a person, whether male or female, if you were to teach such a warlike person the mysteries of the spirit, it would have to be done through the context of war and battle. Another symptom of this cloth is that these initiates are very righteous. And as a result of being righteous, they become very vengeful people. They really cannot let things go until justice is served. They can hold a grudge for years and still be working on payback. Hence, they are the avengers, the abaphindi sale. No one can hold a grudge like one who has the personality of Umphindiseli, the Avenger. And like I said, righteousness is connected to war. Ma'at is connected to Sekhmet. Now, this is one of the effects that comes with being righteous. As much as shapeshifting makes initiates materialistic and obsessed, dreaming makes initiates moody and paranoid, righteousness makes initiates vengeful and warlike. The warriors always seek to balance the scales, they always seek justice, and they are willing to go at great lengths to fight for what is right. Ubuntu, Ma'at, is an initiation on its own. A person can actually reach a high level of initiation through Ubuntu alone. Ma'at or Ubuntu can open up your spiritual gifts. Ubuntu can activate the eye of it all. Through Ma'at and Ubuntu alone, you can attain a high level of enlightenment. And indeed, through Ma'at, one can even ascend. In fact, much of what we know as religious ascension and traditional ascension largely depends on Ubuntu, right? Ma'at. Religious people or religions teach us that if you are good and righteous, you will ascend to heaven. Traditions teach us that if you live a life of Ubuntu, Ma'at, you will ascend to the place of the undying ancestors. So the main theme here is that one must have Ubuntu, Ma'at. The initiates of this cloth are those that are called to travel the warrior's path, the path of righteousness, the path of Ubuntu, the path of Ma'at or Sekhmet or Sikhameti. Traditionally, this cloth is connected with the initiation of Amanguni, like I said, both as a tribe and as a lineage of initiates, who are the Abangoni. The Abangoni were the Amalungisa, the righteous ones. Hence, even traditionally, this cloth is connected to Umguni or Ubungoni initiation. Ubungoni is a path of righteousness, it is a path of no sin. This path of no sin is also connected to the path of war. Even now, some people say Amanguni are a warrior tribe or a nation, while others say Habangoni, they are actually a righteous tribe, a righteous people. Both of these interpretations are actually correct and they align with each other under the mysteries of this cloth. In the olden days, every race, every nation, every tribe had an army which had its own initiation connected to the mysteries of this cloth. This secret initiation taught warriors about the abstract side of war or the spiritual side of war. For example, the warrior initiate would be taught that the only battle that really matters is the battle with the self. The warrior initiate was taught that he had to conquer himself before he can conquer the world. The warrior initiates were taught that there is an endless battle happening within themselves. And these are now the wisdom teachings of the warrior. And these teachings would be taught in terms of war and battle. And indeed, the teachings really applied for both battle and initiation and enlightenment. Right? Like this other book called The Art of War. The warrior's teachings were a double-edged sword. Warriors would undergo strenuous training in order to attain self-discipline. They were trained to be strong-willed and upright, to be brave and fearless, even in the midst of otherworldly creatures. Just like the tribal avengers, they had to be so brave that they had to be able to tell a ghost that is hunting a hut to back off in the name of the high laws. Right? So the initiates of this cloth, on the other hand, they actually work with alongside with the galactic police. They work with those extraterrestrial entities that are policing the earth. There are beings that are actually guarding the earth from alien intrusions and alien invasions. And so the initiates of this cloth are connected to such beings. Hence, they may often dream of themselves fighting, not only for themselves, but also for others. And I know that fighting dreams may be quite common to everyone, but these initiates specialize with war. They have the warrior spirit. They may dream of, the spirits of old tribal warriors or ancient warriors. They may dream of galactic wars among the ancient stars, or they may even dream of themselves engaging in ancient battlefields here on Earth or even among the stars. In the old tribes, initiates who were warlike would be taught the mysteries in accordance with their warlike character. There are many such initiations all over the world, like the already mentioned tribal avengers, Abaphindiseli in Credo Mutwa's Indaba My Children, the Pharisees in the Bible, and maybe even the Knights Templar. These were groups of warriors who were initiated into the mysteries of war and law enforcement. Some would even take vows of chastity and would commit themselves into living a life of renunciation. For example, the Knights Templar. They were actually Christian soldiers and they were not allowed to touch any woman. They even forbade any knight from kissing their relatives. Doing that would result to expulsion. In Indaba My Children, Credo Mutwa says that as part of their initiation, Abaphindiseli, the tribal avengers, would undergo an initiation of sacrificing their manhood and they would be permanently celibate. One can only imagine what became of these men. Indeed, some of them became high initiates. They became warrior sages as a result of being celibate, self disciplined, and enlightened through righteousness. And others became great men of war. They were war heroes of their time as a result of being celibate, self disciplined, and enlightened through war. Many are the stories of warriors who became warrior kings or warrior priests. It was not uncommon for a warrior to grow up to be a warrior healer. It was not uncommon for a warrior to become a warrior king. And it was not uncommon for a warrior to become a warrior historian slash storyteller. For example, in Credo Mutwa's writings, he says his grandfather, Zigoshezi, was a Zulu warrior who even fought in the Battle of Ulundi. Yet at the same time, he was a high custodian. There were many such initiates, and all of them had their own paths. Like you can be a healer first, and then in times of war, you are also a warrior. You can be a high custodian first, and then in times of war, you become a warrior. In some cases, you would be a warrior first, and then you become a high chief or a healer. This depends on the journey as to how it unfolds. Now, this condition of being a warrior healer is perfectly represented by Sekhmet. Sekhmet is a warrior priestess. She is a warrior and a healer. So she is a perfect representation of this archetype. Hence, the initiates of this cloth are connected to Sekhmet. And at the same time, they are connected to Ma'at because Abaphindiseli were the keepers and the enforcers of the law. Therefore, they are connected to Ma'at. And sometimes the law keeper was the chief or a warrior chief and his, a tribal council. In their secret initiations, warriors would be told stories of great battles, stories of great warriors, stories of great conquerors, stories of victories, great victories and stories of great defeat. From stories of great acts of bravery to stories of great acts of cowardice. All of this was done to teach initiates about the abstract side of war, the side that is connected to the mysteries of the spirit. Now, this brings in another side of this cloth, which has to do with storytelling. Storytelling is actually also connected with this cloth because when you are a warrior, you are likely to witness many battles. These many battles and experiences would later become historical facts and wisdom stories. It was very common for an old warrior to become a storyteller or a historian. His life experiences as a warrior gave him a first-hand account of historical battles, historical events that led to those battles and their outcomes. On the other hand, warriors had the tendency to tell stories about their great acts of bravery in a battlefield, and sometimes they would record these events by painting them in a cave. Just like the hunters. Hunters and warriors are also quite connected, and hunters also like to brag about their great acts of bravery in a particular hunting expedition. And they do this by recording them in caves. In other cases, after a battle, A couple of warriors would be chosen as witnesses to tell the storyteller about what happened in the battlefield. The storyteller would then listen to all the accounts, and then he would verify the facts and then memorize the most accurate version of the event. In this way, the warriors were connected to storytellers. Some warriors were already storytellers, and some would become storytellers or historians when they were old and retired warriors. Now, this is how this cloth is connected to storytelling and history. Looking at the symbol of this cloth, there's nothing that shouts history like this one right here. I mean, think about it. We have all these other cloths, and none of them represent history like this one. We have the big five: the elephant, the crocodile, the leaf, the lion, the leopard, the sun, the fish, the tiger, etc. All of these are animals and natural elements. None of them represent history like this one does. I mean, the shield is like an artifact. It's a historical item. Not only does it represent war, but it literally represents history, the old days of the tribes. So the warrior is also a historian, a storyteller of war heroes and battle legends. And like I said, the hunters are connected to the warriors. And that is why we also have this cloth right here. On this cloth, we see the big five mixed with the shield. What does this mean? The big five is essentially for the initiated hunters, yes, of course. And the shield is for the initiated warriors, yes, of course. This means that this cloth is for an initiate who is a hunter and a warrior. The hunter and the warrior are connected. And this cloth right here shows us just that. The initiates of this cloth are the warrior priests and the warrior priestesses. And you know, when I say this, I'm also reminded of these warriors we forgot to mention. These are the Kung Fu masters from Asia, right? These masters are actually the descendants of this cloth. There are many varieties of these initiates in Asia. There's Tai Chi, Kung Fu, Qigong, and all those things. You know, you find a Kung Fu master who is all peaceful and meditative, but when it comes to fighting, he will beat you up like a drum. These masters perfectly represent the initiated warrior. Indeed, they show us that it is possible to attain enlightenment through the mysteries of war. These masters are very disciplined initiates, and they also take vows of celibacy, righteousness, and renunciation. Though they can damage a man like he is nothing, they are very peaceful and would never pick a fight. They fight only in defense. As a result, these warriors attain a high level of enlightenment. Then this is when they are called the sensei. The sensei is really a sanusi. You know, the word sensei is sanusi. In the old times, you would find that the old sensei is also a great healer. We see the same association happening with the priests of Sekhmet, who were warriors and healers. These priests were called the Senu. Senu is also Sanusi. Do you see how now these things connect? Sensei is Senu, which is actually Sanusi. A sensei, although he can beat you up 10-0, he can actually heal you after that. So he's not only a fighter, but he's also a healer. Hence, this cloth is connected to war and healing. It is connected to the warrior healer. It is connected to the warrior priest, the warrior monk, umnguni, abangoni. And of course, where there are warriors, there must be healers. Where there is war, there must also be healing. Some of the initiates of this cloth are not just warrior priests or warrior kings, but they are warrior priest kings or warrior priestess queens, a warrior who is a priest and a king. This cloth describes such a condition. It represents an initiate who is a warrior king or a warrior queen. He is an initiate who has a warrior spirit and he is of royal blood. In many warrior tribes in the olden days, you were made king not only because of your royal blood, but also because of your warrior blood. In other tribes, you had to be royal blooded and you also had to be warrior blooded. You had to have a warrior spirit, even if you descended from a royal lineage. Otherwise, you were not considered fit to become a ruler. So, royalty and warriorship is connected in this way. In fact, in terms of royalty, all of these ancestral cloths are actually royal cloths. They basically represent different royal houses. So on this cloth right here, we basically have the royal house of the warriors. And if the warrior initiates follow the path of this cloth in its full initiation, they become the warrior king priest and ultimately a warrior king god or a warrior queen goddess, a warrior who is a king and a god. This is now the ascension of this cloth, right? And this now brings us to another mystery of this cloth. And this is the mystery of Lumukanda. The initiates of this cloth, the warrior initiates, are connected to the mystery of Ulumukanda or Mukanda. Lumukanda is a warrior king god historian storyteller. He is a warrior, a king, a god, and a high initiate, a high storyteller slash historian. And, you know, he's also considered the spirit of storytelling. His personality basically covers all the aspects of this cloth. He was also a righteous one. He was an avenger, umphindiseli, in his own right. He used to punish those who are evil. In fact, he wages war against evil in his own very weird way, you know. So the initiates of this cloth must read the story of Lumukanda, because if you understand Lumukanda's character, you will find that he represents every aspect of this cloth we have covered here. And you'll find the story of Lumukanda in Credo Mutua's book, Indaba My Children. There are more mysteries here, especially when we include the mystery of Lumukanda. What we can say for now is that this cloth is a sacred cloth. It is very special. It has its own mysteries. It has its own gifts. It has its own burdens, and it has its own initiation and its own enlightenment and ascension. This cloth has produced a great many elders. The lineage of this cloth has produced a great many ascended masters and a great many high initiates. Initiates who founded many mystery schools. Many of the lineages of the new initiates were actually founded by a group of defeated warriors. They received their enlightenment after they were defeated in a war. This is when they went underground and then they created secret societies. Some of them are actually still working towards creating an army of high initiates, an army of initiated warriors who will ultimately protect the tribes. Such an army will come through the lineage of this cloth. I'm revealing a prophecy now. For these lineages, the war still continues. While other defeated warriors, they gathered amongst themselves and they created secret societies where they would explore the more abstract side of war. That is why, this cloth is also very important to the new initiates, right? Because in order to be a new initiate, you have to be a warrior. Without the structure of the warrior, no one can withstand the path of the new initiate. Indeed, it is a very difficult path. In fact, I will go so far as to say that without the structure of the warrior, it is impossible for anyone to be any kind of initiate. Whether Sangoma, Nyanga, Rainmaker, Mpati, and all those other things. The path of an initiate is indeed a warrior's path. This is true on so many levels. Lastly, Bakanyeselwa, I would like to remind you guys that as much as I've spoken about the warrior aspect and a lot of people may automatically assume that this is a male cloth, a masculine cloth, but that is not really the case. In the old days, there were also female warriors. There were warrior priestesses and there were warrior priestess queens. There are many, many old stories about these warrior priestess queens. They would also undergo strenuous initiations as female warriors. And they used to amputate their left breasts as much as the male warriors used to deactivate their manhood. There are many stories of these female warriors and archetypes, like Joan of Arc, Sekhmet, the Amazonians from Greek mythology, the Shield Maidens from the Norse legends. We are talking about female warriors who used to fight alongside male warriors. Warriors like Marimba, Fu Hao, even Ma'at. Ma'at is not really peace. Ma'at is balance and justice. And certainly there are implications to this justice, which also have to do with accountability and repercussions. There's even a version of the story of Isis where it is said that before he met up with Osiris, she was a leader of a tribe that was governed by women. Right? The old stories say that the men of that tribe were actually smaller than the women. The women were huge and lean. In these old stories, you find that Isis is depicted as a warrior priestess queen. There was also a tribe of female warriors that also used to cut off their left breast as part of their female initiation. We also know about the famous story of the Amazonians, who were a tribe of female warriors. The leader of this tribe would be a high warrior priestess queen. A high one who is a warrior, a priestess, and a queen. There are many stories about warrior queens, warrior priestesses, and warrior priestess queens. all of which are connected to the mysteries of this cloth. Therefore, this cloth applies to both men and women. There are male warriors and there are female warriors. So when you dream of this cloth and when you have this cloth, it doesn't automatically mean that you have male warrior spirits. You might also have the spirits of the female warriors. So do consider that, especially if you are working mostly with the ancestral aspect of this cloth, like the spirits of the Amabuto and the spirits of the Amandiki. Bakhanyiselwa, we have come to the end of our story for today. I have said much, but trust me when I say that I haven't really said anything. There's much more to uncover here. All in all, we do thank you for joining us. Do like and subscribe. Definitely do share. We are available to answer all questions on the comment. Ndawi.